something down to mark where the ball's going to.
Yep.
I still see Brian out there doing it. Is there any change to that, or like what's allowed and not allowed?
Yeah, well, it happened in a playoff game, and against Tampa, and we had not received any indication, word, memo, anything that anything was ever an issue, because every team grabs a piece of little white grass and puts it in the spot. And all of a sudden in the game, this happened in the playoff game right in front of our face. Like, what is this? You know, I know there's a little social media frenzy in the weeks before that. But then the next week, you know, we were playing San Francisco and we did the same thing and nothing was said. So, you know, I just feel like, you know, if you grab a white piece of grass, whether it's turf or natural grass, and you just mark the spot, that it's part of the playing field and that's part of the game. We don't bring out bottle caps or pennies or artificial things coming out of a pocket. And that's never happened in my experience with any team. So we haven't received any word of, you know, what's allowed and what's not.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. What kind of teaching point was it for Turpin after the fumble and the punt return?
Great question. We told him that anytime he's running through two tacklers, he's got to cover the ball with two, because he was, you know, very good carrying it with one. There was no sloppiness with the ball carrying. But when he's going through a shoot of two, we said cover with two. You get back into the space, you can go back to one. You're going back through two or in population tackling mode, back to two. And so we showed us some clips, and he's done it a lot before, but he just got big eyes, because if he gets through those two, there was a ton of space, and he's trying to get through those two to get into the space fast, and there's just a little bit of a ball security letdown. Not with the one, but just going with two, and I think if you cover with two, we got the ball in our hands. Yeah.
Cowboys.com. DeMarvion Overshown played a good chunk of defensive snaps, graded out very well there. Also played some good special team snaps.
Yep.
How do you grade out to you in special teams?
We don't actually grade guys. We have a different performance evaluation, but he was very good, like he's been in camp. So I think he's a guy that has real NFL talent and game, and he's been a pro, and he's just a young, active, fly-around body, as we know. So there's definitely a role for him on teams.
Dallas Morning News. Turpin get a little more snaps on offense. Where do you see his role in the return game? I know you got Deuce back there in punt returns. How do you assess that position right now?
Yeah, I think Turp's the incumbent for sure, and I see him as the guy who's returning kickoffs and punts. And as Deuce continues to get some work, that he'll be right there too, and give us, you know, an extra guy. Which I think going into the season, you always want to have, you know, at least two guys that can do it. I actually think we have more than two. But I think, you know, you got a Pro Bowl returner in Turp, and he's become a much better punt catcher, even though I think he was very, very good at it before. But yes, he's special. And I think Deuce is too. He just hasn't done it very much, and so we're getting more work at him, especially on the punt catching side of it. But you saw a kickoff return with Deuce just show good vision on a simple middle return. But I envision Turp being even more special this year than he was last year.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio.
Hey, Christy.
The NFL top brass talking with USFL about how they do their kickoff returns. How do you like the way these other leagues do theirs, and is there something that the NFL can incorporate that would be to your liking?
Yeah, I think, I guess I just heard that this morning that they're talking with the XFL about how the XFL perform their kickoffs. And the answer to your question, the last 2 seasons of XFL, I've studied every single one of their kickoff returns, which was about 400 or so this past season, and about 200 a couple seasons ago, which was their COVID year. So I've looked at over 600 kickoffs, and I'm a big fan of the XFL kickoff rule. I think the number one thing, it puts the ball in play as far as there's a return over 90% of the time. It looked like, I don't have the doctor information, but you know, that was one of the things I studied was when the play is over, are all 22 bodies getting up on their feet and walking off to the sideline? And the answer was yes. I mean, 99% of the time. There was fewer penalties. So you're talking about a live ball play with lower collisions and fewer penalties. I think you're looking at possibly a really successful play. The unique thing, which was, I'm glad you asked, I hope you guys don't mind if I just kind of go off for another minute or two, but at the start it looks kind of different or weird or unique because the kickoff guys are at the 35-yard line and the kick return starts on the 30, and they can't go until the ball is caught by the returner. When the ball is caught in the NFL, the kickoff team is usually around the 35 and the kickoff return team is usually around the 30. So once the ball's caught, NFL and XFL, it's a very similar play. It just looks a little different at the start because the kickoff and kickoff return bodies are way down the field. But I think that's where you get into a cleaner play where there isn't the impact between tackler and blocker like there is right now. And I think right now it's still a really good play. But if that's something to be discussed, I'm a big fan of the actual play because of those three reasons. Ball in play over 90%, lower collisions, lower penalties. So I think it's cool. And it was enjoyable to study just to see a different part of it. And to be honest with you, and I'm okay saying this, we've actually practiced here in training camp our kickoff return as if it was an XFL play, just to take out some of the running part of it and take out a little bit of the collision part of it, because we wanted to just get right to the work, and so that's a way to get right to it. So we've actually done that so far here in practice.
Does it change the return part of it? Does it give you more options as the setup scheme to have schemes returns or not, or does it take away possibilities?
Just my studies of what those teams ran, they were running almost the exact same type of returns that the NFL runs. They're running sideline, double 3, double 4. They're running middle, 10 on 10. They're running middle, double 5, double 5. The kickoff team still has a kick side and a backside where you can see the backside twists in play, which happen a lot in the NFL. So one thing else is the matchup discrepancies don't stand out as much. So if you got a linebacker on kickoff and he's going against a receiver on kickoff return, right now in the NFL it's probably a bad matchup if you're one-on-one in it. But in the XFL, there's a fair chance of a lesser body blocking a stronger body just because it's only a 5-yard gap between the tackler and the blocker, and so the impact is going to be a little bit lower. So it's a unique play. And I think, with the fair catch rule that we have right now, week 1 there wasn't one fair catch, and I just don't think the fair catch rule is going to change much of the game this season, because I don't think teams want to fair catch a ball that's in play, because those are the balls you actually want to return. So, if they're looking for different avenues, I think this is, I'm an advocate of this one being studied for sure.
So I'm sorry, just to follow up. So you think that there were no fair catches in week 1, but isn't it in preseason you're wanting to evaluate guys anyway, that teams would be more likely to return?
That's a valid point. But I just don't think, obviously if the ball is kicked in the end zone, you can return it or touchback. There's no fair catch in play. But if a ball is blooped, and the returner's going to catch it on the 5-yard line, I can speak for most teams that they're going to want to return that kick, because those are the ones that you want to return. You want a ball caught at the 5, not 3 deep, and you return that one. So I just don't see the fair catch rule being applied that much, possibly situationally. It's a blowout game, and you just maybe get out of the game and eliminate some returns, or maybe a kickoff return team feels like they're not very good on it, and they're playing against a kickoff team that's loaded with personnel, and so but I just don't think there's going to be many of them. I don't think.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.